What's up guys, welcome to another OR guitar tutorial. This one is going to be on Nutshell by Alice in Chains. And if you haven't checked out my full cover, the video is going to be linked down in the description below. I suggest that you go do that before we get started with this tutorial, just because it really helps having everything in your head, like just the way that the percussion and rhythm and melody works together, before we go picking it apart piece by piece and kind of slowing everything down. Also, there are tabs in the description if you'd like to go follow along with those. Which it might help for the song because there is a lot going on. So I'll do my best to explain it to you, but let's just get straight into it. So the way that I like to think of this song is essentially like three different sections. So the first section would be the intro part, and this is essentially everything up until the percussion and when he starts singing. So this would be, there's no melody and there's nothing really going on except for a couple of chords and just some bass notes littered throughout. And the second part would be the entire melody, at least the sung melody. So this is, there's going to be percussion and singing on top of our bass and chords. And then the third part is going to be when the electric guitar comes in. It's kind of a lead guitar on top of all the rhythm and everything going on, and it breaks up the singing. So like the pattern is essentially first section, and then second section, third section, second section, third section. And in the original song, it goes a little bit longer and there's more repetition. But for my arrangement, I shorten it up because obviously on YouTube it's not really going to work well to have a 5-minute song of just the same thing over and over. So that being said, let's get started with the first section, the intro. So it starts off with an E minor 7. If you don't know this chord shape, it should be up on screen so you can learn that real fast. And we're just going to do 2 down strums. So it's just going to be, and then straight into an up strum on a G major chord shape. And the only finger that we're changing here is my middle finger. I'm switching that from the 2nd fret of the 4th string to the 3rd fret of the 6th string. And now similarly to how we transitioned from the E minor 7 to the G major, we're going to do the same exact little up strum to now transition to a D major. This chord shape you should probably be familiar with. So, and now here it changes a little bit. We're not going to have another up strum. We're just going to go straight into a C add 9. Okay, once again, the chord diagram should be up on screen. And now in the recording of this song, the guitarist likes to kind of play around with this C add 9 for a little bit until we kick back into the E minor 7. So he kind of does like these hammer-ons in between, and the way that I arranged it is as follows. Right, so it's kind of that same pattern. It's down, up, down with the hammer-on from open to 2nd fret on the 4th string. We do that twice, the hammer-on twice, and then right before we go into what would be the 3rd hammer-on there, we're going to go directly into incorporating this bass that's starting to appear in the song. So what the bass is doing is, and that leads us directly into the E minor 7. So you'll notice that the bass, it kind of helps to guide us from one chord to another. So in this case, like I said, it's transitioning from the end of the C add 9 to the E minor 7. So the way we're going to play this in conjunction with the rhythm that's already going on is just with a couple of down strums. And then we're going to slide up just from the 3rd to the 5th on the 5th string. And then we're just going to down strum. And really I like to only get like probably the bottom 4, bottom 3 strings on this one. So altogether this first part of section 1 should sound like this. Okay, now we're going to do that same kind of flurry of downstrokes. So it'll be 3 of them, and then 1 big one that goes all the way to the high strings. And now we're essentially just going to repeat that chord progression, but now there is going to be some small variations because once again that bass is coming in. So we're going to incorporate that into our chords and what that's going to sound like. So we ended there. Now we're going to do 2 more down strums, and now a full strum, and we're going to hammer on from open to 2nd fret on the 4th string. Then another quick strum, before going to our G chord. And now another quick strum. And you notice here I'm doing down strums instead of up strums. It just happened to work easier for me. And now we go to this D major chord shape. I'm actually not even playing the first string, and that's because the bass here, what the bass is doing is, okay, so we got that first part, but now for the, we're going to, on this D major chord shape, just omit the first string altogether because I don't want to detract from that A on the third string. So I'm just going to strum 4, 3, 2. And then when I get to my C add 9, it's kind of similar. I'm just going to strum 5 through 2. So that part will sound like this. And then this is kind of the same. You can do the hammer-ons or not. Right? And here you'll notice that I have my pinky on the 3rd fret of the first string there. And this is just another variation of playing C add 9. I find that it sounds a little bit nicer in this part, but play around with it, see what you like best. So we get the 2 again. And just before the 3rd one, we're going to go into another little bass riff, but this one's going to be a little bit different. So instead of going, we're now going to slide up from the 2nd fret to the 5th fret on the 4th string. So once again, that's accompanied by kind of like some down strums. And now when you get up here, you're just going to strum 5 through 4, 5 through 3. But we're going to mute the 5th string, so that way that one doesn't ring out. Okay, so that little part should sound something like this. And now there's a rest, and then we play the 7th fret of the 2nd string with a quarter note bend in it. Right, and then that's going to bring us right back into our... Okay, so from the very beginning, let's play what we've got now of section 1. And now we're going to go, like I said, back to this chord progression. But instead of strumming, we're going to learn this finger picking pattern that's really going to follow us through the rest of this arrangement. So what that looks like is 6-1, and now we're going to play 2-3 separately. Now we're going to go to our G major chord shape and play the exact same thing. And our D major chord shape, we're going to start with a like a D sus2, and we're going to hammer on the 1st fret from open to 2nd, or on the 1st string from open to 2nd fret. And now we're going to pluck everything except for the 6th and 4th strings. So all together. Right? And now we're going to do something similar to before, playing around on that C add 9, but this time instead of hammering on, we're actually going to pull off. So that's like going to a C major 7. So you notice that I pluck the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings with my 3 middle fingers. Then there's a quick 5th string. And then I strum down those 3 same strings as before and pull off. Directly after that, I pluck the same 3 strings. And now I kind of play around with jumping back up to the C add 9 and going back to the C major 7. Before eventually building up to, you know, like the full C add 9 with the 1st string, and then finally hitting that 3rd fret of the 1st string to go into the E minor 7. So the way that I play this in the arrangement, I'm just gonna play it for you because it's I think more confusing, me just trying to explain like when I hit the downstroke, when I play the upstroke. So I'm just gonna play it really slowly, and then you guys can watch, listen, follow along with the tabs, whatever you're doing, and try to nail it down. So I'm gonna start at the E minor 7 of this finger picking pattern, and then go through it slowly. Okay, you see how I'm kind of going up and down and slowly hitting more and more strings as I'm going, and then finally building up to the. And that's this whole chord progression is kind of built around that transition from the C add 9 to the E minor 7, in my opinion. That's like the big impact. So we've got that, and then we up, down, and that last down is hard and fast, and we mute it. So it's a very short, because now the next part I'm going to go into is very like fragile, and I want to create some space for that. So I got the quick mute, and I'm sliding up from the 5th to the 7th on the 5th string as I pluck the 6th string as well. And now directly after that, I'm playing the 5th fret of the 4th string, and then the open G string, which is the same note there, if you realize. And I'm going to play really what's like kind of like a D major chord shape. But I only need these two fingers up here, so it's going to be the 5th and 4th on the 5th and 4th strings, respectively. But now to really get the G major feel here, which that's the chord that we're supposed to be playing here, I hit the bass note on the 3rd fret of the 6th string. And now we're going to slide up to, here's our D major chord shape. So this is like A major shape bar chord on the 5th fret. But I'm only really playing the 5th fret of the 6th string, and then the 5th fret of the 5th string, and the 7th fret of the 4th string. And then I'm taking that exact same shape and sliding it down a whole step. And that'll give us our C major shape. Okay, so that little fragile bit there. And now I play like 6-5 or 6-4. And then strum those like middle 3 strings. Now I'm going to pluck up and hammer on with my C add 9 chord shape. And I like hammering on to all of them, even though the only one that's really ringing out right now is the B string, because you can still get that bass feel, and it gives the full C add 9 vibe. So now I'm going to down strum and pull off. And that little part is exactly the same as the last C add 9 that we did. But now we have a little bit of a different transition to the E minor, the E minor 7, because we have a different bass line going on. And that bass line is... Okay, so the way that we're going to play that along with these chords is as follows. So really, it stands pretty much alone as this bass line, but we do have that last note is kind of accompanied by a short strum that gives a full E minor kind of resonation. But what we have going on is 3rd to 2nd, we're pulling off there on the 5th string. Then we're going to play the 3rd of the 6th, open 5th, 2nd 5th, and then that strum. Okay, so I want to go all together from right there. We'll do it together. And then we're just going to go all the way to where we know. Perfect. Congratulations if you made it this far, because you've just finished section 1. Now we begin in section 2, where we're going to start combining some more advanced fingerstyle techniques with percussion, and also incorporating the melody into this whole arrangement. So what that's going to look like after we feed into that E minor 7, we have, so it's going to be 3 wrist thumps, and then 1, it's both a slap and a strum at the same time. So I'm slapping on the 6th, 5th strings, and I'm strumming like the highest 3 or 4 strings. Okay. Now I have 6, 4, and then I'm going to go back into that same finger picking pattern that we just learned. But this time I'm going to add in that percussion. So what that looks like is, in the very beginning, I'm going to accompany the 6th and 1st strings. When I pluck those, I'm going to hit the body of the guitar with my wrist. Okay? That's the same. Okay, that is the same, but now I'm going to slap instead of playing the 2nd string. So usually I go. But now what I'm doing is, and now I'm playing the 3rd string. So literally that slap is just replacing the 2nd string. Now this is the same. And now this C add 9 is almost the same. But instead of playing the 1st string as a part of the strings that I pluck, I'm just going to pluck the 5th through 2nd. And I'm also going to hit the body of the guitar with another wrist thump when I do that. So altogether, this little finger picking part. And the reason why I'm not playing that 1st string when I pluck those notes on the C add 9 is because the melody is right here on the B string. So what he's singing in the song, those are the notes that I want to kind of like make stand out above everything else. So I don't want to detract from it by playing something higher, like playing that E up there, right? So after this, we have a very similar percussive pattern to what we just played. There's going to be 2 percussive hits. And then we're going to slap and strum once again on the same chord. And then we immediately pluck the 5th string and then finger roll on the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings and hammer on from the 3rd to the 5th on the 2nd string. Now we drop our pointer finger down 1 string to the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and then once again immediately follow that by the 5th string. And this 5th string is also once again going to be accompanied by a wrist thump. Once again, we're going to have 2 more wrist thumps. On the 2nd one, we're pulling off from that 2nd fret. So you let it ring, and then you pull it off on the 2nd thump, right? Now we have 1 more thump, and then the slap again. Right, so you notice that this percussive pattern is very repetitive, and that's because we're trying to mimic the drums, right? The drums are doing a very repetitive pattern. So that's kind of where that's coming from. Now once again, we're going to pluck the 5th string right after the slap, and now we're going to do the 4th, which is going to be open till we hammer onto the 2nd, and then we're playing the 3rd string alone. So now we have 2 wrist thumps and then a slap. And that slap, we're going to be hitting the 4th string open to hammering on the 2nd fret. Okay, and that's the exact same thing that we basically just did. Right, it's the exact same thing. And now we're going to play the open 1st string. And that's going to allow us to hammer on to our like traditional C major chord shape. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Once again, that's accompanied by a wrist thump when we hammer on there and pluck the 5th string. And now we do, I'm playing like the 4th through 2nd strings with my middle 3 fingers. Another wrist thump, a slap, same strings as before. And then I'm hammering on from the 1st to the 3rd fret on that B string. Before finally playing open, 3rd and 2nd. So I know that was a lot. Let's just run through it together. We'll go from the very beginning of the percussion. So if you remember, that's... Okay, and now you notice that really wants to bring you to the E minor. And so that's exactly what we're going to do. So as soon as we pluck those 2 strings, we're going to follow it up with a wrist thump and playing the 6th string, open. And then there's going to be another wrist thump, and then we're going to slap harmonics on the highest 3 strings on the 12th fret. So if you don't know how to do natural harmonics, go look those up. I'll probably make a video on it in the future, but until then, just got to figure it out. So that's kind of the transition into our E minor chord shape. And now we go back down, playing open 6th and 3rd. And these open strings also kind of help you get down the fretboard from being up here. Right, it gives me time to move my hand. And now we're gonna go back into the, it's all the exact same, okay? That's still the exact same. But now we're gonna do something slightly different. Instead of repeating that hammer-on, we're just going to leave that little bar blank. We're just gonna leave it at rest, except for some percussion. Okay, so that's all we're doing. And now there's a slightly different bass line combined with the melody. So here the bass line, it's that one. We're familiar with that bass line. But when you combine it with the melody is something like. So when you combine those two, it creates actually like this really cool kind of lead in, once again from the C9 to the E minor 7. And the way you play that is as follows. So we have like a devil's tritone on the 5th and 4th strings. And I like to play that with my middle and ring finger and pinky finger, excuse me. So I pluck those two together before pulling off from 3 to 2 on the 5th string. And then I'm gonna play the 3rd fret of the 6th string as per the bass line goes. And now I'm gonna pluck open 5th alongside the fretted 4th string. Hammer onto the 5th on the 2nd fret there. And now I'm gonna hammer on to the 5th of the 4th string. So that obviously requires a lot of pinky strength to be able to get that kind of volume when you're just hammering on. There's a lot of different ways you can play this. You can just play the open G string if you want, like that, or right, just slide up. However you need to get it done. This is just the way that I prefer, and I think this sounds best. And now we're gonna play finding the open, right? And now we have this little. Okay, so it's gonna be wrist, thumb, wrist, and then slap the strings like before. Okay, and now once again, 6-3, and now we're back down to the same old. Okay, that's all the same. Here he changes it up a little bit in the melody, so instead of, it's gonna sound more like. So then directly afterwards we follow up with 4-3-2. And that's also accompanied by a wrist thump. And then one more of those. And this time we're gonna pull off. So, and I kind of like to also slap on that second one when I'm pulling off. Instead of doing 2 wrist thumps, we can do, right? So then after we pull off, we have the same wrist thump, thumb, wrist thump pattern, but it's going to be a little bit different in that our first wrist thump will last a little bit longer. So instead of, it's like, okay, so it's kind of hard to explain just in this bare context, but let me give you like some chords behind it. Okay, so the first time we follow it with a slap and do that same hammer on from open to 2nd in our C9 on the 4th string there. And now the second time when we slap, we hit kind of the higher strings and then we pull off from 3rd to open on the 2nd string. So then we follow that with 4-2. And the 2 is open, so that way we can hammer on to the C major chord shape once again. For that same melodies before. The first time I play it, I actually don't pull off to the 1. I just, but on this one I like to. And another cool way to do it is instead of playing these 2 open, you can play them up on the harmonic there. Right, so just some things to think about and use to spice up the arrangement. So now we go into the 4th verse after our 6-3, as we always do after the. And this 4th verse is very similar to the first 2, and you'll see what I mean. So all that part's the same. And now we're gonna play like 5-4 or 5-3, 2. And when we play the 2, we're gonna slide up to the 8th fret, and then hit the 8th fret on the 6th string as well, right when we get there, as well as wrist thump when we do that, and then the thumb hit after 2 wrist thumps. So, and then we already know that, right? That's the exact same as before, no difference. And then up to there. And then we're gonna go into section 3. So let's just recap everything that we've done so far in section 2. And we'll start with the very beginning of the verses. So that'll be, we'll just start right there with that beginning of the percussion, okay? So if you made it this far, you are doing really good, and you really only have one more section to master. There are some minor differences between the first time we play section 2 and the second time we play it, and then the first time we play section 3 and the second time we play it. But those are pretty minimal, and if you're able to get it the first time, you'll be able to get it the second time. So to start off section 3, that's really what the electric guitar plays, right? So what that is just 12 on the first, then on the second, then on the third, and then down to the 11th of the third. To start it all off, we actually accompany the first string with this open 6th string, and also a bass thump right there on the wrist, right? So that 11th fret on the 3rd string is bent up like a quarter, or I actually bent it down. But like a quarter note, kind of like we did the 7th fret here. Right, it's actually the same note. And then directly after that, we follow with slap. And then we play 12 on the 4th. And harmonic on the 2nd string. Okay. And now we're going to slide up to the 8th fret of the 6th string. When we get there, we start that. And then we slide down to the 3rd fret. And once again, as soon as we arrive, that's when we hit our first wrist thump. Now you'll notice I don't pluck the string in between when I go down. I just let the momentum from this first one, I let that sustain follow me there. So it's really quiet. And now we have this slightly different guitar riff. So what that is, we're in a E minor 7 chord shape here, and that's going to be the 10th fret of the 1st string, and then the 8th fret of the 2nd string, and then we're just going to bar the highest 3 strings on the 7th fret. And it's the exact same pattern with our right hand, so we're just right 1, 2, 3, and then this time we're going to bend on the 10th fret of the B string. Once again up a quarter, followed by a slap, down to the 8th fret of the 2nd, and now we're going to strum the 6th and 5th strings together, and on the 5th string I'm going to be up at the octave right on the 7th fret, and then I'm going to slide it up to like a 9th. Okay, and then we finish this off with just 1, 2, 3 wrist thumps and then 1 thumb slap. Now we go straight back into the very beginning of this riff. Still the same. All the same. The only thing that's different is the very end here. So you notice I just add another wrist thump and hit with the thumb at the end of that little percussive sequence. And that sets us up perfectly to go back into section 2. Like I said, there are some minor differences here, so we'll go over those. The very first verse is exactly the same as in the very first time we play section 1 or section 2. Now here there's a little bit of a difference. Instead of, remember that just kind of empty space percussion, now we're going to do the, what was it, like 4-3 or 4-2? 4-3-2, and then slide up. Okay, so that was what we played at the end of verse 4 in the first time around of section 2, and now we're just going to play it in the second verse, right? So that whole second verse starting. Okay, now we go back. It's all still the same. Okay, now here we finally have another difference, and that's going to be, instead of, we're actually going to play it up at a whole octave higher. Okay, so what I'm doing there, essentially, right before I slap and hammer on, I'm going to slap actually the first string up on the 10th fret and then slide up to the 12th. And then I'm going to slide down from the 12th to the 10th on the second string. When I do that, I'm going to follow it with a 8th fret of the 6th string. And there's also a wrist thump there. Another one to fill the space. And then we're going to slap. There it is. So I'm just kind of hovering around the 10th fret there. Going to go up to the 11, back down to the 10th, and then pull off. Right? And I'm going to fret the 10th fret of the A string with my pinky. Now I have a little finger picking pattern. So it starts off with the with 5, and I'm gonna accompany with the wrist thump. Then it's gonna go 3, 5, 2, 5, and then I think I'm gonna slap to the 2nd before sliding down to the 7th fret, and then fretting the 6th string as well. So I think that's the right finger picking pattern. I'm not sure if I said it exactly correct. You can always look at the tabs if you're confused. And then we have that same 2 wrist thumps, 2 a thumb hit as we did. And then I like to slide down and let off the pressure as I do that. And that leads us perfectly into section 3 once more. But like I said, there is going to be a slight difference in the way that we play section 3 this time. So that's the first one, right? So a little bit different. It starts off the same. But now here, instead of playing the harmonic, we're going to slide up from 12 to 14 on the 3rd string. And now we're going to play this like minor triad. That's going to be on the 4th fret of the 4th string. 14th fret of the 4th string, sorry. And the 12th fret of the 3rd string. And now we kind of have... So that's accompanied by a wrist thump. 2 more, and now this is probably like the hardest part of the whole song, in my opinion. We have to aim from this wrist thump to the 8th fret of the 6th string there, and tap that, and then we're gonna slide down and pull off. So what that sounds like, just like that, right? now we have this kind of like overdriven lead guitar part. So I have my index finger on the 7th fret of the 5th string, and I'm going to pull off from 9 to 7. And I'm hitting the low E string pretty much every time on these. Once again, to give that like overdriven feel. So pull off, do 1 just alone, then I'm going to pull off from 10 to 7 on the 5th. Play it again, and you notice that I'm muting all the other strings except for the 5th and 6th, obviously. That way I can kind of strum it all, and I only get those 2 strings. And now we have 1, 2, 3, and then so that's harmonics on the 7th fret, natural harmonics, and I kind of switch back and forth between the 5th and 6th strings to the like highest 3. And we do that twice, so it's right, twice on the harmonics there, and then we go back into it. But now instead of playing this here, we're just gonna harmonic those 2 strings, the D and the G, on the 12th fret, and now. So this part's a little bit easier than the first time we played it because now we don't have to do the tapping thing. We can just go straight from 8 to 7 and then pull off open. And one thing that I didn't do in my cover, which I really wish I did, is mute the A string with your thumb back here. And that gives you a nice clean sound. Like when I did it, it sounded more like, and you get that open A as well to ring out. That's just obviously not as clean. So you get that, and now that's how it ends. So you already know that riff basically. It's you're just gonna finger roll into it. You can hit that open D or not. I just happen to do that. It sounds nice because it is the E minor 7 chord shape. That'd be the 7. But you don't have to do that. You can just hit these 3. And now 2, 3. Quarter bend on the 10th down to the 8th. And now we're just gonna slide up from the 7th to 9th again. And this time I like to strum kind of the whole, all of the strings except for maybe the D string. I kind of mute that with my index finger. But that's it. If you guys made it this far, then you learned the entire song, and congratulations. It's kind of a difficult one to get at first, but once you get it, it's a really fun song to play, especially with all the percussion and stuff. So I hope you enjoyed learning it as much as I enjoyed arranging it. And if you have any suggestions for future songs or tutorial videos, anything of that sort, you can go ahead and DM me on Instagram or send me an email or a message on in the YouTube comments, whatever you need to do. But yeah, if you're interested in more of these types of lessons and tutorial videos, then go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it, and until next time, I will see you guys later.